Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you. It might not be Christmas. It might not be my birthday. But it is right now. No, I'm not even in Vegas yet. That's not until November 14th. But I will tell you this. I finally have in the second palace. And I have him sit in the throne. I mean, only palace citizens get to sit on my throne. Okay? He's sitting on my throne right now. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what? We're both wrestling fans, so you know what? I'm gonna give y'all all a treat. Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready? Hey. What the hell is in watching, listening to Big D Country, and the millions listening here. Ooh. Let's get ready to podcast movie.
Well, that's one of the best introductions I've ever had.
Thank you. My guest this week, or during the Leaders of Tomorrow segment, is the one, the only, Mr. Podcast Movement himself. And you get to travel across the country with them and other podcasters. And he has a podcast of his own. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Jared Easley.
Thank you, Deshaun. It is an honor to be here. And for your millions, and I said millions of listeners, I'm proud to be in Big D Country. The Rock has come back to Big D Country. Actually, it's my first time in Big D Country, and I'm not The Rock. But I appreciate you letting me sit on the throne. And depending on what I've had for lunch, I may need to sit on the porcelain throne. But that's another conversation.
Well, that's okay. I got a whole set of thrones ready, so that's okay. Okay. You're one of the.
Anyway, yeah, it's an honor to be here, and I'm a part of Big D Country, and proud of it.
Thank you. Oh man. So I want you to start off. You have a podcast. So, I want you to promote your podcast, and because you're a citizen now, I want you to promote your podcast, and then talk about the history of podcast movement. The floor is yours, my friend.
Well, Deshaun, I started a podcast back in 2013. I had no idea what I was doing, and I don't claim that I know what I'm doing now, but I have a little more experience now. But back then, I really didn't know what I was doing. But starting a podcast, I think, was one of the better decisions I've ever made because it connected me with a number of people that I probably would not have met any other way. You being one of them, you become a really good friend. And there's so many others out there that now I have relationships with. It's given me ideas on things that I wanted to try in my life, like business, things that relate to parenting, things that relate to being a friend, just things that I like and enjoy. And so, yeah, I've really, of course, I've made connections with people I didn't think I'd ever connect with. So having a podcast has been a wonderful blessing in my life. And I've been doing it 9 years now, and I have no intentions of stopping. I absolutely love it. So my podcast is, and thank you for the opportunity to mention it, by the way, it's called Starve, like you're hungry, Starve to Doubt. And, yeah, I've been doing it for several years and absolutely love doing it. And you mentioned podcast movement, and podcast movement is actually an idea that came from my podcast, Starve to Doubt. I have learned from interviewing various business people that there's ways to discern what the market, so to speak, is looking for, what type of businesses might make sense. And my business partner, Jan, and I, we were at another conference out in Vegas. This was back in 2014. And we heard a lot of people interested in a podcast conference, but there wasn't one at the time. And so we decided, hey, maybe we could be the ones to bring everybody together and try to put this, make this podcast conference. We had no idea what we were doing. But We put together a crowdfunding campaign and raised a little bit of money and asked a bunch of people, that were friends of ours, to help us out. And we pulled off the very first podcast movement in 2014. I was in Dallas, Texas. And we've been doing it every year since then. We've added new events. We've had a number of things that went well, had a number of things that didn't go well. We survived COVID. And now I'm proud to say, and I'm humbled to say, that not only is Podcast Movement an approved conference by Big D Country, but it's also considered widely as the podcast conference for the entire podcast industry, which we're very excited and thankful for. So that's a little short, brief overview. Hopefully, check them out if they want.
Yeah. So now you've been going across the country with Podcast Movement. You've been to Dallas, like you said, and also you also been to I think you did one in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love.
Oh yeah, we've been fortunate. We've been to a number of different cities in this great country, and eventually we're hoping to even do some international stuff. But yeah, it's all been in the U.S. So far.
Yeah, hopefully one day I'll have my passport so I can follow y'all.
Well, yeah, even if you don't, we plan on still doing events in the U.S. So Big D Country is always a part of Podcast Movement in my book. So.
Oh, you know it. Oh man, I mean, this is really, really wild to have you on the program. So you also started something called Podcast Evolution. Now tell me, when did that start?
Well, Evolution started, I believe I want to say that was 2020. We've only done 2 of those events. COVID kind of sidelined us there for a little bit, but we wanted to have an event that was more based on the West Coast for folks in California and some other places. And that event is a little bit smaller event. It still has a pretty good turnout, but it's a little bit smaller, and it tends to have a little bit more of a attendance from people that are in the podcast industry versus just hobby podcasters. And so it's a really good event. People that go to Evolutions, they buy a ticket based on their level of experience where they are in podcasting. So if they're an industry person, they buy an industry pass. If they're a person that's brand new to podcasting, there's a new podcaster's ticket, where all of the sessions are really tailored and focused for someone who's newer to podcasting. We have a pro podcast pass where if you get that means you've been podcasting probably for a few years, and you don't need the basics. You need more of getting to the next level. So most of the sessions for that track are focused on helping existing podcasters continue to raise their game. So we have 3 major tracks for that event, and then of course the other event, Podcast Movement, which we'll get to, is kind of a choose your own adventure. It's got marketing track, it's got the creation track, it's got the technical track, it's got the monetization track. It's got all these different types of sessions you can attend based on the categories and the things that you need help with. So we're real proud of that as well.
Awesomeness. Now, a lot of times people just don't go to conventions just for the breakout session, but sometimes they go to the keynote. Now, what is your favorite keynote person that you ever had that graced the stage at Podcast Movement?
I don't know my favorite, but when I first started really getting into podcasts, which was back, like I said, 2013, 2014, a very popular podcast at that time was called Serial. It still is, I would say, a pretty popular podcast, but it was very popular at the time. And the lady that hosts that show, her name's Sarah Koenig. And so really had a lot of respect for her, and we were able to have her come to one of our events and be on our keynote stage. And that was surreal, being able to see Sarah Koenig that stage at Podcast Movement. And but to your point, we've had a lot of really wonderful people take our stage, and we've seen people like Questlove be on our stage. We've seen Paris Hilton at our event. We've seen Will Ferrell, comedian Will Ferrell, puts Shark Tank, Mark Cuban, who's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks.
Wow.
So yeah, there's just been so many really awesome people. Another person I really appreciate who lives in Philadelphia, you mentioned Philly. Oh my goodness, what's in my mind? It's out of blank. Well, Al, can't even remember her name. What is her name? Let me look it up real quick.
Hey, you're not me.
Terry Gross. Terry Gross. Yeah, Terry Gross from Terry Gross. Terry Gross is one of the best interviewers I've ever heard. So,
Wow.
We've got a lot of people on our stage, so. But I tell you what, we need Deshaun on our stage at some point. So we're gonna make that happen.
I'm ready. Book me.
Right. Yep.
And
you got the mix of podcast experience and comedy, and not everybody has that.
Oh yeah. Especially interview with comedy. I mean, I just love it. I love to make people laugh, and sometimes I might sing a little bit during my jokes or whatever like that. I'm just a crazy widower trying to be a motivational speaker at the same time. And who knows? Maybe I might make a government laugh too for a change. I don't know.
Hey, you know what? You asked me one of my favorite speakers, but let me tell you one of my favorite memories. And I got a lot of favorite memories over the years. We've been doing this for several years now. But one of my favorite memories over the years happened in Nashville, Tennessee. And it was a particular session that had some classic wrestlers involved. I remember it had Jeff Jarrett was there.
Yeah.
I want to say Eric Bischoff was there. We had a couple people there. Who else? I can't remember. It might have been Bruce Pritchard. I can't remember. But we had a couple of folks there, and one of the funniest things that I'll never forget at the end of that session was the king of Big D Cut, Deshaun himself, went up to Eric Bischoff. And I just thought he was just going to be polite, say, hey, I'm a fan, and shake his hand, something like that. But no. That's not what John did. He literally, in his best Vince McMahon impersonation, fired Eric Bischoff in front of the hundreds of people in that room. And I laughed. I couldn't stop laughing. Got a credit for one of my favorite podcast movement memories. Fire Eric Bischoff at the end of the session.
Well, now since you mentioned it, I'm going to say those famous words that I said that may be sort of famous in the podcast movement sort of way. So I'm going to say this. Eric Bischoff! Yeah! Ha!
Wow. Yeah, it's something that I laugh about. And I still love that memory today. So, Sean, I have to thank you, man. You not only do you come and you enjoy yourself and have a good time at the conference, but man, you made a moment happen there. And anybody that was in that room remembers that. And even Eric Bischoff laughed at that. And I'm sure Eric Bischoff runs into all kinds of people. Yeah, even Eric thought it was funny. So.
That was a hoot. So, I know, talk about Vegas and also talk about Denver because we're marching into 2023. So, it's also going to be a little, because this is Leaders of Tomorrow, right? So, you're a leader. Well, it's not quite tomorrow, but you're already a leader. And so, go ahead and talk about Vegas and also go ahead and talk about the Mile High City, Denver.
Well, Vegas is coming up. That's going to be in March of 2023. And see, what's the date on that? I should have this right in front of me, and I don't, so I'm not a very good guess, I guess. It's March 7th to the 10th, 2023 is when we do Evolutions. And then later that summer, in August, we'll do Podcast Movement. That's going to be in Denver, Colorado in 2023.
I'm excited for y'all. I'm excited. I know it's definitely going to be in Denver, but I want to try to pull Vegas off too. I know it'll be second time being in Vegas, like between my birthday and then also in March, and put all the things together, like the gaming, the shows, and podcast movement. Well, my favorite show is fantasy, but nonetheless, You know, you got best of all worlds and all rolled up in Vegas.
That's right.
Yeah. So
it's gonna be a good time.
It sure is. And tell me about, you always have one, when you put together a party with iHeartRadio, I mean, oh my God. I mean, I was like, look at here. Look at what they're doing. I mean, you always have y'all have fun. You not only like to tease people and like to have people come together, but y'all like to have fun. And that's what makes it so addicting.
Well, we try to do our best, man. No event's ever completely perfect, but we certainly try our best, and we have a lot of gracious people that come, like yourself, and everybody seems to have a good time. And I hope that.
Whoa, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I can't wait for that. And tell us about. So speaking about the leader, tell us about you especially attained a special leadership that I helped to vote you in. Tell us about that. Because I know I shared some of that information on my fan. I was so excited when you got it.
Well, first of all, thank you. You've been, as a member and citizen of Big D Country, sometimes you think, oh, the leader, Big Deshaun, he's not going to notice me. But Deshaun, you have never treated me that way. And so I'm proud to be a part of Big D Country. And recently I had another friend of mine named Eric who encouraged me to put my name on a list for big influencers in this space. And so I didn't think much of it, but I did put my name in, and they required some voting and things like that. So I reached out to people like Don, friends, and asked, hey, if you want to, you can vote for me. And I'm just really kind of do that and do that. Sure enough, we got on that list, and there was a list of people who were considered influencers in the event space, and my name, right or wrong, was on that list. So,
yep, it is.
I'm grateful for that. And I don't think I can have that. Friends you done just to
Awesome. Well, anytime that you want to come back on to Big D Country to, talk about a very special event or a meetup or even, listen, this is a lot, but you also have Podcast Movement University. I almost don't want to forget about that. Podcast Movement University.
Yeah, we try to create different resources for people that are getting into podcasting that hopefully will make that process a little bit easier on them and not cost them any money. Podcast University is a place where people can join for free, and that's where they can get a lot of access to different tutorials and different sessions from previous events, and hopefully get some good knowledge and some good insight and interact with the community. And we have a really active Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Even if you don't join the university, definitely consider interacting with fellow podcast movement community members. It's just a great way to work and build your own courses. And in podcasting, that's real important. You need that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I just want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity when we was in Nashville. Well, before Nashville and before the infamous Eric Bischoff firing, I was given a chance to speak on Podcast Movement Online, given the class called Added Comedy to Your Podcast, and I thought it was so real that it was like, oh, it's almost like I'm actually a comedian. And then when I did the segment, I was like, oh, I want to do it more. I want to do it again. I could. I mean, it was like a rush.
Well, Deshaun, I gotta say, I've known you for a few years now, and one of the things that I've loved about you is you got the passion for podcasting and you got the passion for comedy. So when you were gracious enough to say, hey, I'm going to share a little bit about my experience with that, that was an easy yes on our end. So you've been a very generous member of the podcast community, helping other people to try to figure out ways to make their show better using comedy, and I think you've done a great job with that. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. And, anytime you want me to either grace a breakout room again or grace a stage, a keynote, I mean, I'll be glad to do it. I'll be glad to. I'm right there.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And anytime, if I ever put on an event, I want you to come, and I want you to, give a little words of encouragement, and also probably do your podcast if I ever do an event over somewhere, anywhere. So I definitely want you to come.
Well, the Big D Country event, that's one that I wouldn't want to miss. So I'll make sure of that.
Exactly. Well, my friend, I always let my guests close out the segment. But before I do, and when you close out the segment, you can give your website and everything like that. But before I let you close out, don't forget, escape to BigDCountry.com. Escape to BigDCountry.com. You get everything. You get the blog. You get the sponsors, for their affiliate sponsors. And if you do order something from any of my sponsors, I get a commission to help that. Well, let's just say marketing has been a little slow lately, but it's one of these days it'll get better. It'll get better. But other than that, I'm going to let my guests do like a Jerry Springer final thought and close out the special Leaders of Tomorrow. I had a blast, man. I had a blast.
Well, I'm humbled, and just so your listeners know, I happen to have found out that Deshaun appreciates a pepperoni pizza. So for all the leadership and all the joy and the comedy he's brought us, if you ever get a chance to get this man some pizza, I say do. Because Deshaun is a great leader. Deshaun is a great comedian. And, man, if you pay it forward and use those links that he's talking about or get him a slice of pizza or whatever, I'm sure he'll appreciate it. So, Sean, thank you for your friendship and thank you for your leadership.
Anytime. Let's not never part. You will never leave Big D Country ever. No matter what circumstances, you are not allowed to leave Big D Country ever.
Well, I'm a fan of Big D Country, so I can't imagine wanting to leave.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? I don't know what kind of closing WWE segments that Jared could give, but why don't you close us out in the WWE fashion?
So many ways to do that, my goodness. Oh, yeah, dig it. There's a little Macho Man for you. And Hulk Hogan. Let me tell you something, brother. If you mess with Big D Country, you're going to be, I don't know, you're going to be facing the strongest arms in the world. Seeing all my Hulkamaniacs saying the prayers and the vitamins. I don't know, man. All I know is The Rock has the best lines. He talks about taking that big boot, turning it sideways, and sticking it up. That handy, you know what. So keep listening to the Big D Country Show. Keep listening to Deshaun, and you ain't going to have anything bad happen to you.
So for more information about Podcast Movement, information is going to be on my site, but if you want to go to Podcast Movement, go to podcastmovement.com, podcastmovement.com. Be with us. Now, if I can make it to Vegas, I'll be there in Vegas, but I'm definitely going to be in Denver. So you definitely see me in Denver. You can't miss the Crown. You cannot miss it at all.
Well, Vegas is a fun city, Deshaun, so I'm going to warn you, man. You come to Vegas, you might not get much sleep.
Oh, I go to Vegas. I love Vegas.
Fair enough. Well, we would love to have you, but whether or not you make it or not, man, I'm grateful for Big D Country. I'm grateful for you.
Oh, thank you, brother. You will be back. You can best believe that. So, anyway, This has been Leaders of Tomorrow. This has been a very special Leaders of Tomorrow. The sandwich has been complete, but it's not done and it's not over yet. But other than that, thank you for listening to the special Leaders of Tomorrow. And, man, it's been a blast. Sweet.
Thank you so much, Deshaun.
Jared, when it comes to podcast movement, Jared, you are the father.
I just appreciate you not firing me.
We'll see everybody later.